Hey guys, Lytane here. Thank you for checking out this review on a genre that I absolutely love, sci-fi. Sci-fi is one of those genres where you can do whatever you want and the only limitation is your imagination. And then you throw some jargon in there and it's all good. And reverse polarities, that's a thing that always happens. Today, I want to have a look at both a sci-fi and a horror film mixed in one called The Cloverfield Paradox and see if it's worth it. The Cloverfield Paradox was released in 2018 and is the third part of the Cloverfield movie series. Now, each of the movies in this series are drastically different from one another in both tone and story, so they don't actually fit together all that nicely as a normal series would. I have reviewed the original Cloverfield, which is a found footage monster movie. I have also reviewed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a bottled thriller film. The Cloverfield Paradox is a horror sci-fi movie, see, all so different from one another. Like I have brought up in my other two reviews of this series, Cloverfield has an ARG attached to it. That's an alternate reality game where elements of the movies are displayed in real life and they have clues and puzzles for you to solve. Solving them will reveal new information about the Cloverfield universe and help expand the story that's going on in the background. It is not required at all, but it does help flesh out what's going on and it's pretty interesting in my opinion. This also had an ARG campaign before it and other people have done a much better job describing the whole thing. Go and watch one of the videos from a great YouTuber called Inside a Mind. He does some fantastic deep dives into these lores. Anyway, let's talk about this movie. The Cloverfield Paradox is set soon into the future, about 2028 or so, where there is a global energy crisis. An idea to create sustainable energy is thought up though, using a particle accelerator, and the experiments will be done in space by a team made up of different people from around the world. After 2 years of failed experiments, the crew are not in a happy place and there's a lot of distrust amongst them. Earth isn't looking that good either, with war bubbling on the horizon. Despite all of this, the crew keep doing their experiments because they are trying to save the world. And it just so happens that one of these tests work, but it has some very serious consequences and it damages the ship. Now they need to repair the ship, figure out all these crazy events, potentially find a traitor, and find Earth because they lost it. The Cloverfield Paradox was not originally a Cloverfield film. In fact, it was a film called The God Particle that J.J. Abrams bought up. The original idea had a lot of similar elements with an energy crisis and a war between Germany and Russia, but the final product is very different to what it started as. Well into development, J.J. decided to turn this into a Cloverfield film, and then he started to sprinkle through all these different little elements of the Cloverfield universe. So we see the Slosher guy, which was in Cloverfield, we see Tagaretto, which is also in Cloverfield and, in the ARG, as well as a whole bunch of other things that are references to the first movies. Now, because of this, they're all in the background mostly. There's nothing really in your face about it, so if you had not watched the previous Cloverfield movies, you will not be lost here. It's not like a direct sequel to those films. It's its own thing, just in the same universe as the other Cloverfield films. So if you have seen these other ones, you might get a few of the references, which is pretty cool, but if you haven't, it's no worries. Now, the plot for the film has a very strong set of ideas. There's an energy war, there's a theoretical science, and an empty ship full of creepy things. I think it starts off very well and sets up the world that we are in and the stakes for the experiments. It's pretty clear from the get-go that what they're doing will cause something bad to happen, but that's part of the fun. After things do go wrong, the film has some issues. The ideas that the movie wants to go into are literally thrown into your face near the start. We hear some exposition from Mark Stamble, who might be related to the guy from 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is just another connection. Well, he says that using this accelerator could cause monsters and demons and sea creatures to come about and all manner of creepy kooky things on Earth. It's really in your face, and it doesn't have to be here, but I know why, which I'll get to very shortly. I just think it's so dumb. After the experiment goes wrong, a lot of strange things start happening, where a lot of the fun actually is. It's not terribly original for most of it, but it is the most fun that the movie does have. My main big problem with it is it makes no sense. No sense at all. It's like something happens and then you say why, and the answer the movie gives you is because. I really feel like the creators just thought up a bunch of different, coolish ideas and said, let's put them in the film. And then people said, okay, how's that gonna work? Like, I don't know, just put it in the film. And it's like, wow, it's so frustrating. Like, at some points it feels like there's an evil ghost on the ship. At other points it feels like the ship is literally against them. At other points it's showing like maybe there's an alternate reality with different people. There's so many different ideas all clashing into each other, and none of them get fully explored, fleshed out, or explained, and it is so frustrating. But if you're anything like me, you will watch to the end just to make sure that they have some kind of explanation, but nope, there's none. That long exposition at the start was them saying that they can do whatever they want, and I hate it so much. Because there is no rhyme or reason to it all, it's hard to keep track of what's going on and what rules we have to follow. How did Jensen end up in the wall? Why are there worms inside of Volkov? How did he live so long and pretty healthy with all of those worms inside of him? How did an arm know where the gyro was? It's so annoying because there just isn't any explanation, and I like answers. Let's change topic a little bit so I don't rant forever. Let's talk about the actors. I think that they are all very good. I think they're all very good actors, very competent, and I like each one of them. The characters themselves aren't super deep, and a lot of them are just sort of one line or just some kind of stereotype, except for maybe Ava, the main character. She's got a bit more depth to her. Everybody else is fairly shallow, but still well acted. I like the fact that there is such a diversity amongst the cast. All the cast are from different areas of Earth, and they have like little badges on the side, like Ireland and UK and China. There's even a famous Chinese actress, which I will not say the name of because I know I will get it wrong, who doesn't speak a whole lot of English in real life, and yet she's in the film and she speaks Mandarin through the majority of it. And then the other characters just either know what she's saying or speak back to her in Mandarin. I think it's a really cool detail, and it just shows that it was the world coming together to try and solve this energy problem. I like that. I really think that that was a good direction, and I think that the cast really does a good job here. The costume design though is pretty basic, it's nothing too special, and a lot of the set design is also pretty basic. Most of it is made up of corridors of the space shuttle. I mean, they don't really look ugly and they serve the point of the film, but I can't help but think of Alien when I watch this. In Alien, the rooms and areas are claustrophobic, adding to the tension of not knowing what's going to happen and feeling like you're trapped. Here, everything is really open, which takes away from that tension in my opinion when it's supposed to be a horror film. Another thing that's strange is that by the end of the film, all of the supernatural elements are kind of forgotten about. It turns more into the crew facing one another because of the potential threat of a traitor amongst them, and they're trying to deal with that. That is a good amount of tension, but there is no supernatural elements in like the last 30 minutes or so of the film, which is really odd for someone, like for a film that was going really hard and trying to say like anything can happen, except in the last 30 minutes is just humans. This movie also reminds me a little bit of Event Horizon. It has a lot of similar ideas to that movie, but that movie went way off the rails and super duper crazy. Here it is tame. But the difference between these movies is that this one ends with a super big tease. Because of this tease, I want to see more of what was happening on Earth during this crisis. We experience a little bit of it with Michael, Ava's boyfriend, but not enough. This movie also tries to explain everything in the Cloverfield universe, as it's pretty much the cause of it all. But once again, it's done halfway and not expanded upon, just like everything in this film. It feels like JJ doesn't want to give answers to his stupid mystery box because he doesn't have any answers. He likes creating questions, but then when they ask him those questions, he's like, I don't know. Instead of tying all the movies together in a fun, unique way, it feels like he used some sticky tape and pegs, and I hate it so much. The world behind these movies in the ARG is interesting. I just want JJ to stop wasting time and actually make a movie from scratch in the Cloverfield universe instead of throwing that idea on top of an already made film. In my opinion, I think that the Cloverfield Paradox is not worth it. It is one of the more sloppy made sci-fi films that I have seen. The ideas surrounding it are fairly interesting, like the whole anything can happen and we're surrounded by like, ghost ship or something like that. That is really cool, but the execution of it all is really, really bad. Because anything can happen, literally anything does, and there has no rhyme or reason to it all. You can't follow along because you don't know what's going to happen next, which could be a good thing, but it is not because there are no rules, and it isn't actually explained or tied up towards the end. In fact, the end of the movie doesn't even have any of those supernatural elements. It's just people on people, and I was like, why? You started this off in a fairly unique and interesting way, only for it to crumble apart. I really think that this movie could have been something special, could have been better, could have tied in the Cloverfield universe together, but instead, it's pretty crummy, lackluster, and mostly forgettable. Do not see this film. It is not worthy of the Cloverfield name either, in my opinion. Like, the only saving grace is that the actors are fairly good, and like the set design is not horrible, and stuff like that. Like, it's not a horrible film to watch. It's just kind of boring. Don't put yourself through it. So guys, tell me what you thought about the Cloverfield Paradox. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was a good addition to the Cloverfield mythos and explains why everything is happening? Because I hated it, as you could clearly tell from my review. I feel like the elements that are in the film, JJ just threw on like, some Cloverfield words, and he's just like, yep, that's part of Cloverfield now, and he just put it out there. He's such a douche when it comes to mysteries. Oh my gosh. Oh. I don't want to get into another rant, so let's end it here. Don't forget to write down in the comments below any thoughts that you've had on this film, and don't forget to cycle subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! I really just want to rant about J.J. Abrams. I should make a Lytane about J.J. Abrams because, man, that man has some crazy great ideas, but he has no idea how to execute them and no idea how to finish any of his ideas. Alias, Lost, the new Star Wars films, Cloverfield. There are so many great ideas here. They're just, I don't know. Like, does he say like, hey, this is a concept, and someone goes, oh man, that concept's really cool, and he's like, yeah, here, buy it from me, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. So where's the ending? And he's like, oh, you didn't buy that, you just bought the concept. Laters.